Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the grade calculator posted on Blackboard. You can use it to see what your current standing in the course is, or use it to plan out how much time and effort you'd like to put in, or play around with hypotheticals to see what happens if you get certain grades or quizzes. And so for a little overview, in the top left, we have this exam calculator. You enter your 4 exams in the final in these columns here, these cells here, and then it will automatically drop your lowest of the 4 midterm exams and then calculate your exam average, which will be the average of your highest 3 exams plus the final. Remember, you can't drop the final. And then over here, the calculator works similarly, but for your quizzes, in that it will calculate the average of your 15 quizzes, which you enter in these yellowish beige cells over here. And it will drop your 3 lowest quiz scores. I don't know why I put emphasis on lowest. I meant to put the emphasis on 3. And then if you come over here to the right, this little calculator over here will pull your exam score and then calculate your combined exam plus quiz score. And so if you recall from the syllabus, that's 85% of this exam score plus 15% of your quiz score. And if that combined score is higher than your exam score, you get the combined score. But if your exam score is higher, then you get the exam score. And so this is to reward you for doing well on your quizzes. And so doing better on your quizzes than your exams and more midterm and final can boost up your letter grade potentially. And at the very least, taking those quizzes will certainly help you do better on your exams because they're low stakes, fewer questions, and it will be great practice so you can do as well as you can on the exams. So let us take a look and see how this works. If you start entering grades in here, you'll see that right now if you get an 89 on all 4 exams and then a 0 on the final, your exam average will be a 66.8. And that's because you cannot drop the final. And so this is basically taking the average of 0 plus 89, 89, and 89. It's dropping your lowest 89. But let's say now you get an 89 in the final. Well, then your exam average is an 89 because we're dropping one of your 89s and then averaging 4 89s together, which is, of course, 89. You can see what happens if we change this to a 50. Nothing happens because that 50 is dropped. Similarly, if you change one of these to 100, your lowest 89 is still dropped, and now your exam average is a 91.8, which is reflected over here. You'll see that your exam plus quiz score is now a 78, and that's because your quiz score is a 0 because we have not entered any values, or you decided not to take any of the quizzes, which is your prerogative, but I do not recommend it. But you can see that even though your quiz average is a 0, and thus your combined exam and quiz score is a 78, your final grade is still a 91.78. Which is an A, which is pretty cool. Let's change this back to an 89 and see why you might want to take the quizzes. So let's say you really want an A in this course. You do not want a B. Instead of emailing me and asking what you can do to get an A, you can play around with this calculator and take your quizzes and do well on them. So if we start adding 89s, you can see down here that your quiz average is creeping up, as is your combined exam quiz score. But you're still at a B because we need to get this 89 to an 89.5, which is the value that I round up to a 90. And that's similar for all of the other partial grades, right? So a 69.5 rounds up to a 70, and an 89.5 rounds up to an A, and a 79.5 rounds up to an 80, which is a B. Right, and I explained that in the syllabus. So let's keep adding our 89s over here and see what happens. Every time I do that, your exam score, your quiz average keeps creeping up. And now at this point, if you have an 89 on all 12 of the first quizzes, but zeros for quiz 13, 14, and 15, your quiz average sits at an 89 because we're dropping these 3 lowest quiz scores, right? So 89 and 89, the highest of which is still 89, which is a B. So let's see what it would take to get to an A. If we get another 89 on quiz 13, it stays the same. That's because 89, 0, and 0 are your 3 lowest quiz scores, so nothing changes. 89, 89. Right? All right, well, let's now play around. If we buff this up to 100 on one of these quizzes, you see your quiz average is now at 89.9 because that 100 is replacing one of the 89s. And if we come back over here to the final letter calculator, we're at an 89.14 when we when we compare our exam score and our combined score. So let's play around. Okay, so you can see that this replacing one of these 89s with 100 puts you over that 89.5 mark and gets you to an A. But now let's say these final 3 quizzes were still zeros. You're still getting that A because these 100s replace some of these 89s, and then your lowest 3 scores are the zeros. Of course, it doesn't matter what order these are in. We could similarly say, okay, it's near the end of the course, you have an 89, and you really want to get that A. What do I need to get on these last 3 quizzes to replace these 89s with better scores? And so you could get a 100 and a 100, and let's see, does a 95 do it? No, a 95 doesn't do it. Does a 96? No. Does a 97? No. Does a 98? No. Does a 99? Not quite. 100. So in this case, you'd kind of be out of luck. So this is why maybe we would try to plan what we want to get a little earlier. Or say you've gotten to this stage, you've taken all 15 quizzes. It's now a day or 2 before the final, and you say, well, no, I'm not going to shoot for an 89. Let's see if I get a 90 on the final. Getting a 90 versus an 89 with these quiz scores, that single point is enough to push you over the boundary and get you that A. And so this is the value of the grade calculator. It saves you time, it allows you to plan effectively, and perhaps most importantly, it will stop you from sending me emails the day before the final that says, what grade do I need to get on the final to ensure that I get a B or an A or a C? Or maybe even, what do I need to get a D instead of an F? So that is the value of this grade calculator, and I hope you find this video useful. Thanks.